It's a great pleasure to be a part of what was going to be the largest panel in the Nalanda Literature Festival this year, but is now perhaps not the largest. It's still amongst the largest, I'm sure. That is three participants and one moderator. The panel is extremely distinguished, so please, I want to introduce them to you first before we go any further. We have with us Professor D. Venkat Rao, a most distinguished scholar. He completed his postdoctoral research at the University of Chicago, the University of California, Berkeley, and the University of Washington in Seattle. He teaches at Nalanda University here in Rajgir. He has taught at various universities in India as well as at the University of Washington in the USA. In addition to books in English and Telugu, he has published several articles in national and international journals. There are so many publications against his name that it would be impossible to list them all at this event. But I should say that he has interests which include literary and cultural studies, image studies, epic traditions, visual cultures, comparative thought, translation, and nemo-cultures. He has designed several courses that interface culture, technology, literary studies, cultural studies, and Sanskrit traditions. He developed a research program under the rubric of Critical Humanities and is the editor of the Routledge book series, Critical Humanities Across Cultures. Thank you very much for joining us, Professor Rao. I have another very distinguished scholar to my other side, Professor K.C. Lalthlamuani from Mizoram University, head of the Department of English and Culture Studies at Mizoram University, a university with which I am happily familiar with the campus at least. She has had 30 years of teaching experience, specializing in women and gender studies, post-colonial literature, and interdisciplinary studies. She has guided numerous MPhil and PhD scholars and presented papers at national and international conferences in India, Thailand, and Switzerland. She also serves as editor of the Journal of Literature and Cultural Studies. Welcome, Professor Lalthlamuani. And last but certainly not least, we have Ms. Ami Ganatra. She is an alumna of the IIM Ahmedabad, a management professional, also a dedicated yoga practitioner, certified yoga instructor, and a student of Sanskrit and Indian knowledge systems. She has written 3 books, Mahabharat Unraveled 1, Mahabharat Unraveled 2, and Ramayana Unraveled, which aim to return to the original Itihas text to present their stories, learnings, and nuances accurately rather than retelling them or reimagining them. And with the same intention, she has recently published 3 illustrated books for children, Avadhut and His Teachers, My Friend Arjun, and My Sister Devi. Welcome to this panel, Ami. Now, we have a subject before us, given to us, which is a subject which can lead to a lot of heated discussions and maybe could be considered something which might also be very combative in its nature. But I really don't think it is. The subject is, does religion overpower our society? In other words, the way I interpret it is perhaps the intention behind the framing is that, is there too much of religion in our society and that somehow the other inhibits it or prevents it from progressing further or more than is good for us? I mean, that is the way I interpret the framing of the subject. So let's look at it from that perspective. And religion here means any religion. We are a multi-religion society, multicultural society. So there are societies where religion is on the back foot and has been on the back foot throughout the 20th century in the world. In Europe, for instance, we know that it has receded in its importance after having dominated politics and culture for a very long time throughout their history. In other societies, religion has been forcibly relegated or completely abolished in the communist societies, for instance, in China in the present day, in the Soviet Union of yore. But in India, religion has always thrived because we are one of the 2 birthplaces of the major religions of the world. All the major religions of the world were born either in West Asia or in India. I mean, that's a known fact. And therefore, religion has played a very, very important part in our history, our society, our development, even our economics. And so has it in West Asia as well, and continues to do so to this day. So in these religion-centric societies, particularly in ours, where it has such an important role, does it play too important a role? Should it be less important? Perhaps that is the way that one could look at it. But of course, I leave it to you, distinguished scholars, to tell me what you think about this subject. So shall we start with you, Professor Rao, first?
It's such a great pleasure to be here in Rajgir. I've been coming to Rajgir for several years, but at this time, it's a very different one. The most amiable and affable person who called me on the phone one day, Mr. Ganga Kumarji, and said, "Sir, we want you to come here and then take part in Nalanda Literature Festival." I said, "I'm going to be in Nalanda anyway, so I'm a part of the institution which is a part of Nalanda and Nalanda heritage, and I wish to thank Mr. Ganga Kumar and also the incredible team which has been behind this entire activity. I am deeply pleased to be here. Thank you so much." Regarding the topic, I'm an academic, I'm a university teacher, so let me confine myself to university teaching and then talk about this particular theme, the way academics look at this theme. The word that is being used, and we use it, we overuse the term religion. It has two sources in history. Both come from Latin. One is a genuine source, other is a false source. The genuine source says it means the term, the source comes, it is not religion, it's religio. The term simply meant that a synthesis, a collective, an arrangement that has been already made, has been recalled, remembered, recalled for the purpose of recomposition. That is, that which has been arrived at already, it's been re-invoked in a different generation to re-examine it and recompose it. That's the true meaning of the term. The other meaning that comes is called religare. Religare simply meant that a certain kind of binding and bonding with a particular kind of authority, and you become a faithful person, you express your faith to that particular binding authority. And this is a false understanding and false interpretation of the Latin origin. And this became very prominent in the Common Era, at the beginning of the Common Era, contributed to largely and entirely by Christianity. Unfortunately, that particular understanding of religion has become popular and then gets institutionalized. So whenever we talk about, I don't find fault with you, but that is there in the language that we use today. We use the term without knowing the very basis of that particular term. In fact, one of the greatest scholars points out that to say that dharma, Sanskrit dharma, he is using the Indian terms, he says to say that Sanskrit dharma is religion is a false extrapolation. That is, that whatever has been done in a European tradition, which is backed by Christianity and Christian thinking, to say that that is universal is a false allegation. So, according to this understanding that I'm trying to provide, there are no religions in other than Europe. What are they available then? What is available? Ways of living, modes of being in the world, reflective traditions about ways of living. That's what is available to us. So if you ask anybody what's a religion, we use the term, we don't understand the meaning. So whether religion overpowers or not is a question that is a vacuous question for us. Please do not mistake me. I want to give a proper meaning to the very sentence that has been used. Does religion overpower? No, it does, only in the academy, but also it's become part of the popular lingua franca now, that everybody says that Buddhism is a religion, Jainism is a religion, but in fact that's a wrong understanding of that, because it's only a Christian understanding. So if you look at in the universities, the terms that we use, I don't want to elaborate this, this is my bread and butter, I do that regularly. So all the concepts that we use in the university and in our education system, all the concepts have come from a certain kind of baggage. We need to be alerted to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for... absolutely redefining the topic as far as societies other than Christian societies, and that too only in Europe are concerned, because you're not even including the rest of the world where Christianity is pursued. You're completely confining it only to Europe because of the term religion. But can I now turn for a brief moment to Professor Lalthlamuani? Yes, got it. I've been trying to practice that. A bit of tongue twister, but I'll get used to it. Thank you so much. And ask you for your opinion on whether religion, as defined, the topic I'm sure didn't dream that, Buddhism, Hinduism, Jainism, and all the other religions that were born in this side of the planet would be excluded from the term. But supposing that we do accept that, do you accept that definition? And do you think that religion does not overpower society? I think you'll have to, at some point, go to the more common understanding of the topic and the phrasing to say modes of being, religion, stroke or religion, do they overpower society or not?
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I come from a place which is, we can say, very remote from mainland India. And right from my childhood, what I was made to believe is that Christianity, because in Mizoram, almost all of the population, we are Christians. So talking in terms of Christianity as a religion, maybe I could say that it is, it covers almost the entire gamut of the society, the culture, the traditions, whatever it is. Even though going back to the very roots, our society was not, we did not have this kind of the Christian religion at first. We were animistic. And it was only with the coming of the Welsh missionaries, and that too very much, should I say, recently, because it was only towards the end of the 19th century that we experience this kind of a movement.
So only about 100,
yes,
150 years or so.
Yes, we have celebrated only about 100 years of the Christian religion. Previously, we were, as I have already said, we had a belief called Sakwa, where nature, everything that was there was a sort of the culture itself, as the previous professor has said. It was a very much a concept of life, of the culture, of the traditions that we lived in. And then what happened was it is something I would like to say very different from what you experience in mainland India, because with the coming of the Britishers, there was a total change, so to say, because we did not have a script. We did not have, we only depended on our oral, word of mouth kind of sayings. And then the Britishers, the missionaries, they gave us the script, and then they started building up the educational systems. And so we can say almost the entire Mizo community is very grateful, and we feel that we have been able to be what we are today because of what they have been able to give us. But at the same time, in the present scenario, what is happening is that even though we have imbibed this foreign, so to say, tradition, but still then the kind of indigeneity that we had as a Mizo still lingers on. It's still there. It's very much there in our society, in our culture, in whatever realm, in whatever aspects that you go in the culture, you will see that this is very much a part of our life.
Can you give some examples of how the Mizo-ness, so to speak, lingers?
Okay, so traditionally, the Mizo society was such that we are referred to as the uh, headhunting tribe. They would go and hunt. The warriors would go out. They hunt, and then they would bring in. They would come with their victorious heads, and then there would be chanting. There would be the beating of the drums, and then there would be the the liquor. It was very a kind of celebration because one was victorious. And there was that very not exactly monotonous, that rhythmic beating of drums. Now what happened is, now after we have been Christianized, when we go to churches, we still use those drums. That was there in the past. But we have been able to syncretize it, so to say, with the religion that has been passed down to us from by the foreigners. Right. So the hymns that are being sung, the choirs who are singing, they use the musical instruments. Yeah. And it still has that nature of indigeneity that is there in the Mizo culture.
So the Mizo drums persist.
Yes, very
despite
much.
Despite all other changes.
Very much, yes.
And I know Mizos are very musical people. I mean, they're some of the most fantastic musicians I know are from Mizoram. But the alcohol has gone because Mizoram is also a dry state.
Yes,
right?
yes. That is another thing altogether.
Yeah. Ami, can we turn to you now? Because you have actually, worked in the sphere of our traditional heritage in India. And while Professor Rao has said that, he's with one definitional stroke, he has eliminated us from the entire topic. Would you say that religion, in the way that the common man understands it in India, does it overpower our society?
Thank you so much, Sunitji. I would actually build upon what Sir said, because he's bang on. The word we have is dharma. The word dharma is dharayati iti dharma. Dharanat dharmiti ahu dharmo dharayati praja yah syat dharan sayuktam saha dharma iti nishchaya. Yah syat dharan sayuktam. That which upholds and sustains. That sustainability principle is dharma. So it is not as if dharma overpowers us. We survive because of dharma. And as individuals, our effort in the Sanatani worldview is to live in a way that forwards the cause of sustainability, right? Which is every part of life. So is dharma essential to every part of life? Absolutely. One part of dharma is theology, which is the dharma that we are trying to refer to here, right? Which is about gods, which is about belief systems. The in-group and out-group. Who believes in this kind of God is the in-group. Who does not believe in this kind of group is the out-group. So the topic we have is that belief system overpowering in the society? Because individually, if we look at the way of life, right? Why do we say namaste? What is namaste? It is namahate. Where is this coming from? I bow down to the divinity in you. Who believes? Which other theology believes that there is Atma in everybody? It is the Hindu Dharma. Nobody else believes that, right? So even the namaste comes from the Hindu worldview. So does it overpower our life? Every way. Every single way, right? Absolutely. But the problem starts coming to the topic that we have here is when theology becomes more important than sustainability, right? And when does that happen? So Northeast, I have a friend who works very deeply in Northeast. One of the things happening in a lot of parts of Northeast is people trying to go back to their indigenous faiths. There are movements going on over there, right? Because one can bring education without imposing a belief system, correct? One does not need to become a Christian to be educated. One can continue to be Mizo while also getting educated. But where is this coming from? That if you have to do seva, you have to impose a certain God. This is coming from organized religious worldview, which was not even the case in ancient Rome or Greek before, right? These were all pantheistic. These were all nature worshippers, so to say. or maybe the Mayans or the Aztecs or everybody, right? But this inherent desire to uniformize one God, one belief system, it comes from the organized religions. And when we say that, oh, Christianity brought peace and it brought, like ma'am said, I'm just responding to that because that point was made, right? What were the Crusades? They're not in India. They were so bloody, right? To say that, oh, they are civilizing. Here, yes. But it is not as if they're inherently civilizing, because if that was the case, why were you going out killing each other, right? So when the religion or theology gets politicized, because it is no more even about a belief system, which everybody should have the freedom to. But when it becomes political, where you want to use theology to achieve power, there it will always be a problem. So just leaving it out there. Thank you.
So now, if you accept what Professor Rao has said and what you have supported also, that is that we don't really define the dharma here as a religion. True. Although in the popular parlance, it is always used to equate each other. But if you say that that is outside religion, that's a way of life, it is the way of life, then it all the more reinforces the understanding of the topic, because the topic has not got such a fine perspective on the word religion, as has been very rightly given to us by Professor Rao. Professor Rao, let us put that aside for a moment. But do you think that belief systems, if I can use that word, overpower, and by belief systems I mean systems which may be based in mythologies, may be based in some kind of irrational thought, may be based in emotional thought, if these belief systems overpower society to the detriment of society, because I think that is what the intent of the topic is. So can we rephrase it slightly and ask your opinion on this rephrasing of the topic?
Certainly, I mean, I don't wish to be misunderstood. When I raise the point that the term comes from Christianity, I do not mean at all that there is something against Christianity I am speaking. I am talking about something much more very specific and very limited. That is to say, today I teach in the university, I train generations of students. What language am I giving to them? What is the baggage? What is the reflective background from which this language comes to us? We are using English language. When we are using these conceptual categories like religion or belief system or whole range of these terms, what's the baggage? What's the background from which these terms come? That's very important. We need to be very sensitive to that. So the question is that, again, maaf karna, there is no belief system as such in the Indian context. As my colleague, Professor Lalthlamuani, was pointing out, that there are different modes of being in the world. There are different ways of going about in the world. And then my colleague also pointed out that dharma is important. But also we know that very clearly, achara paramo dharma. That is that the acharas, that is to say, the specific practices that have been generationally handed over from one generation to another generation in specific communities, they become the dharma of that community. So we have differentiated dharmas, and differentiated dharmas in differentiated moments of existence. These are all very crucial. We need to be sensitive to them. So when we say that a belief system is dominating, the idea of the belief system comes from, once again, unfortunately, I must point out that it's Christianity, a faith in a true and very absolutely singular true God. For example, all the other gods Christianity tends to think are false gods. Now, in any language, try and translate the phrase false God. You will find it ridiculous. You cannot translate that. Language resists it. So, try and translate the belief system into any of the languages. Very difficult to translate that. The language is resisting. That means that language's reflection has not gone in that particular way. Whereas in English, you can easily say belief system. This particular community has a belief system. This particular religion has a belief system. It is very difficult. What is the belief system in Madhva Sampradaya? What's the belief system in Ramanuja Sampradaya? So we have Sampradayas, we have Paramparas, we have Anushtanas, that is practices. These are available to us. And to say that these are, okay, what happens when they become excessive? Very important question. In Roman society, also in Roman culture, pagan Roman culture and Greek culture, these questions were discussed. We need to learn about ancient civilizations before Christianity began to become the dominant way of thinking. That is very much necessary. So what happens when a particular practice becomes excessive? It is the task of the specific community to measure it and to curtail it. That's the task of the community. Communities have existed. Community is also a wrong word. It comes from, again, Christian baggage, because there is a unity among the group of people. It is very difficult to find such kind of unity among many of these kind of formations, I call biocultural formations, that spread across India. Okay, so when a particular kind of practice which is specific to that particular group of people, their modes of living, their practices, their festivals, when they become excessive, it is the task of that specific community to measure it, to curtail it. Otherwise, you cannot have a system from above and then a particular normative, obligation from above being imposed on the society, because it will cause tremendous amount of disruption within the society itself. So it is the task of the specific bioculture formation or a group of people to begin to curtail it. That happens in many of the places. They modify, they adopt, they sustain themselves. Otherwise, they know that they won't be able to participate in the larger world along with others. Well, I think many of these kind of contemporary practices that we see, for example, animal sacrifice, right? It is a part of every community's practice, okay? And then, but it began to be curtailed completely. Now in many of the places, for example, during the Dasara festival, they used to, sacrifice the buffalo at one point. But now that has disappeared. It is not just because of the rules of the law out there, but that's because there is a sensitivity to that is beginning to become important. Younger generation began to resist it, and then they began to substitute them with something else. Same is the case with when you go back to the ancient Indian society, sacrifice of animals was substituted by sacrificing of certain kind of food items, specifically prepared ones. So this happens across the society. We don't need a law from above to impose it on the society. That particular notion of converting a practice or curtailing a practice by imposing a law normatively has come from, once again, a specific kind of cultural background and religious background. May I point out that when we use the word theology, we need to be, once again, I try to tell my students that we need to be sensitive to that. Because theos is, once again, it represents, though it's a Greek word, but it simply meant during the course of the early Christianity that theos meant one singular, supreme, only true God. We don't use it in that sense. Nobody says that Krishna is the only supreme God. Rama is not the supreme God. Such kind of contestation doesn't begin at all. So we need to be very sensitive to the language, especially English language, and whether our languages easily go into those conceptual frameworks. That's something we need to be sensitive to.
May I introduce another word then? Because in definitional paradoxes, if we get caught, then we'll never get to discuss what I think the organizers want us to discuss. Yeah. So, I mean, I have absolute deference to what you've said, and you absolutely correctly have defined that this is not a concept which is at all germane to our kind of society or social approach in India, and it is very, very foreign. But having said that, there is a word which again is derived from that word, but which does not depend upon the definitional aspects of the word religion, and that is religiosity, if I may use that word. Now, can we have a common understanding of what religiosity is rather than religion itself? Which is an excessive adherence to certain practices or beliefs which overpower in an unbalanced fashion other aspects of life. Now, of course, again, there's as in India, there's always a definitional, because every aspect of life in India is governed by dharma. It cannot be overpowering. And in fact, this was recognized. This is recognized actually by Vivekananda repeatedly. Repeatedly, he says that religion is the core of national life in India, a source of universal energy, identity, driving both unity and potential conflict. Both unity and potential conflict. So, Vivekananda says in India, religious life forms the center, the keynote of the whole music of national life. He repeatedly makes this assertion, which recognizes the fact, I suppose, at some level, that Indians have absorbed the fact that dharma is something that governs both all aspects of life, the material as well as the spiritual, right? So coming to that, can we then even begin to assert that it overpowers society? Because society, according to that definition, is composed of people who, in that sense...
Can I just add one point?
Please.
This Vivekanand ji ka to jaane dijiye. There was a Pew research done recently on how much does religion matter to Indians. And about 90% Indians said they were religious,
Yes.
right? So, again, I don't know what term to use, but is belief system dominant?
Professor
100%.
Rao has thrown us into great
right?
confusion, if you can use
Do
the word at
people
all.
believe in Bhagwan? Now, the idea of Bhagwan obviously changes. That is where the organized and non-organized religions come in, so to say, in normal understanding, right?
Correct.
One is, I believe in this God, you may believe in any other God, and we are cool, right? Ekam sat bahuda vipravadanti. There is one truth, different people see it in different way. Versus some ideologies insisting that there is only one God and the other is a false God. The dichotomy comes here. When it is, you worship your God, I worship my God, you want to put one more murti in my mandir, I will put Jesus in my mandir, no problem. Next to Krishna, Jesus, right? No problem. And you have so many
Examples
Hindu
of that.
households like that, very
Yeah,
comfortable with
absolutely.
it. But when it becomes that, no, you throw out all other gods just for one, right?
Oh, acha.
That is where it becomes a problem. Now,
Yeah.
is it?
Yes, they will have
Yes.
questions. And, yes. Yeah.
So you want to contribute already, it seems like.
So
Yes,
I would
exactly.
just like to point out here what the moderator has said with regards to religiosity, and what I would like to say here is what Sir Aurobindo says. To some extent, in our culture,
Yes.
I cannot help but go back to my own culture.
Absolutely.
So what I would like to say here is that we had been given the script, we had been given the education. So the belief is that once we were educated, we became aware of the essence of justice, of liberty, and therein we had that national movement. That is also very much
Became the religion, the language, the script were all tied up with the modernizing force.
Yes,
that-
exactly.
That gripped
and also
your
the,
society.
the MNF uprising
Yes.
that was there.
Right.
Some scholars have come up with the notion that because we had the education, because we were made aware of what freedom is.
Yes.
Because right now you pointed out, Sir Aurobindo, saying that we had this kind of awareness with the with
I was talking about
Yes.
Vivekananda.
Oh, sorry, sir.
yeah.
Yes. So we had this awareness of freedom, of justice,
Yeah.
which we would not have known.
Without
was,
this.
Yes, without this.
Yeah.
So that the uprising that took place, the MNF movement,
Right.
I think all of us are aware of it.
Yes.
That was how it came about. Some scholars have surmised
So
this
it
point.
led to an assertion of Mizo identity also.
Exactly.
And religion was very much tied up with it.
Yes.
And is still tied up with it.
Yes.
And therefore religion does play a very important, we can't use the word overpower or whatever, but it plays a very important part in Mizo life as well. And the religion is Christianity in this case. Great. I think since we've been admonished that we must have 10 minutes at least for questions, and we are at 10 to 5, although we started late. We've given up some time of our discussion, but if there are any questions, we'd be happy to take them. Does religion overpower society? This is the topic we've been given. No question. Why is that? Oh, there is one. There's a lady there who has a question.
Good evening, everyone. My question is, like, I just came in now, so I couldn't hear all of you, but I really wanted to attend the session because I have a question already in my mind. So I hope that, though you must have already answered it, you'll be glad to repeat.
Please ask.
Like, we all often consider a notion, or it is a fact that Hinduism is a way of life. We became Hindu because we followed a certain way of life. in the region we live. And then subsequently, where the later part of in the western part of world, the other religions developed, and cause of their religion, their way of life developed. So it is kind of fundamentally different that how both the ways of life have evolved. We became a religion cause of our way of life, and their way of life became because of their religion. So how can we fix our topic into this?
You're asking a
Diaspora.
chicken and egg situation. Huh? Did the chicken come first or the egg first? The religion first or the way of life first? And it may have reversed in the two cases. Is that what you're saying?
Of course, like
Yeah.
for us, it is
Okay.
the egg and the chicken.
Yeah.
Can you tell me this? So before Christianity or before Islam, do you think there was no religion or way of life in those places? Apna jaane do.
That's what I'm saying.
There
that-
was, right?
Yeah, of course there
Clearly. But it also had a belief system. They had their Roman gods, they had their Greek gods. But do gods come first? Or does the civilization come first? Is the question.
was. Of course, civilization came first. What my question focuses on, that our religion comes with our way of living, and their way of living have evolved with the religion they have started to follow, which completely eradicating what their previous belief system were. So how does that evolve, and currently is it relevant to what we are becoming?
In a way, I think what she is saying is, let me, since I was trying to understand the topic, let me try and understand her. She's saying that if you change your belief system, right, that also changes your way of life, right? I think that would be fairly evident, and most people would not argue with it. I think what Professor Lalthlamuani has said, Lalthlamuani?
Yes.
Right, has said is exactly that a new religion came along with learning, and that altered their way of life, although they retained elements of their identity, old identity as well. And I think that you would agree, most of us would agree that this does, because any belief system, whether you use the term belief system, whether you use a belief complex of beliefs or whatever, also dictates how you live and how society develops. So that is a given. I think we have wandered very far from our topic that the organizers had in mind. 1 minute, please. 1 minute, please, certainly. Well, we wandered very far from the topic that the organizers had in mind, which was a completely different debate, but we got into a different area, which is a slightly more definitional kind of aspect, and also a kind of, shall we say, yes, substance, yeah, absolutely, and also philosophical. What is religion? What is a belief system? So we've got onto a different track altogether, but it's very interesting. Now, Puche, please, I hope you will give us a very provocative question.
No. I have a very simple question. For entitled class, empowered class, educated class, whatever you call it, we may have arguments for or against about religion or whatever theos or whatever you have discussed it all thoroughly. For general masses, I believe, my personal opinion may be not as
Please,
you have.
go ahead.
It certainly overpowers our lives. Today's politics.
You're talking about
today's
India,
society,
our society.
Yeah, because
Yes.
we live in this society.
Yes.
So let us forget about past and all. Let us be in today's world. Who doesn't think that it overpowers current lives of the people, politics, and society? Everywhere, religion is a thing which is either disturbing our lives or benefiting others' life to bring them into power or bring somebody away from the power. So this certainly is in our lives on daily basis, and we are all, what I can say, trapped into this religion and belief system.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I think you've said something that many people here might agree with. All said and done, whatever we might say about our higher sort of definition of dharma and so on and so forth, at the common man's level, the understanding of even the Hindu faith, the Sanatan Dharma, whatever you call it, is also being reduced to. By definition, by opposition, you have defined yourself into a religion. In your common understanding, you have become a religion. And you've become a religion in the sense that Professor Rao also would agree, it has become that in practice. And in that sense, you have really brought us back to the topic. Thank you for doing so. That in that sense, that religion is becoming overpowering. I think there is no doubt about that. And we all need to think about it. If we treat it like a religion,
But Sunil ji-
if we don't treat it like a religion, if we treat it as a dharma, which in the definition that Ami has given us, which is the correct definition, then it's not such problem at
No,
all.
what I'm saying is this has always been the case. This is not now. When was religion not important? 200 years back? 100% it was.
I'm saying
right?
Vivekananda has been saying it.
Uski
Others have
time
been
hai
saying
dekh
it.
lo, right? And it's true throughout. And it is not just India, it is every single place. Every single place it is important. Because at the end of the day, we all crave for that anchoring which comes with Shraddha. Ki wo bhakti hai, wo hope hai. That is where it starts, right? Then it becomes an identity. Then it becomes mera zyada acha ya tumhara zyada acha. That is where then struggles start.
Yeah, but
this is true
Shraddha, I
everywhere.
would contest Shraddha though. I would say, because even in India, we've had a lot of traditions where you don't necessarily have to have Shraddha.
But no, but what is the
Correct?
percentage?
Am I right, Professor Rao?
What is the... No, we've had...
Shraddha
Charvak.
is not the
No,
only
we've had
sort.
Charvak, we've had Ajivika, we have
Yeah,
lots
yeah,
of those.
yeah.
But what is the percentage, sir? I quoted the Pew survey, right? Do we not have atheists and agnostics now? 100% we do. But what is that percentage? Less than 10% even today.
Correct,
Right?
correct.
So if you're talking about overpowering,
No,
we are
but-
talking about predominant ones,
Yeah.
which is most of the people.
So the topic is absolutely true according to you. And I think Ami has given us the final definition of the topic. It does overpower society. Now, for good or ill, that's a different
That's a
aspect.
different thing. And
Can
it
we
always
close this
will.
discussion at this point? Because I think we've run out of time. But I wanted to just thank all our participants. Thank you, Ami. Thank you very much, Professor Lalthlamuani. And thank you very much indeed, Professor Rao. I got your name right finally.
I thank all our esteemed panel for insightful discussions.